Y'all, this was not clickbait. This was not clickbait. This is your girl, your schizorican. I had to write the title down just to be sure. When I saw Anubis, I also became a high-ranking angel and spoke with the king of Atlantis. Call it, I could have been in an alternate dimension, but this all happened. I experienced this. I spoke to Anubis, became a high-ranking angel, and spoke with the king of Atlantis. Yep. Let me give you the tea. Well, now let me tell you. People think. You know, like I said, I talk about metaphysical stuff. I talk about mental health and schizophrenia and seeing things and hearing things. You know, I've been seeing things and hearing things my whole life. And there's a spiritual realm. And there's science, yes. You know, there has to be a balance. But back to Anubis. Oh my goodness. This is where it begins. It all started with me sitting in the living room. I was minding my own business. Everything was fine. Everything was normal. I wasn't getting any interactions or anything. I wasn't, going through anything. This was before I was aware of, before I started tarot, before I got really into my spirituality. I was raised Christian, so like I didn't really, specifically 7-day Adventist. So it was a little bit more strict. But thank God my father was open-minded, so like I could talk to him about certain things. But anyway, I was sitting in the living room, and it first started with me looking. Hang in there, bear with me. I was sitting in the living room and I'm looking at the TV, right? And this is how it starts. I don't know if it's MK Ultra type stuff, but I start looking at the TV. I got goosebumps, y'all. I started looking at the TV. I'm looking at the TV, and behind the TV, I see symbols going down like this, like different codes, symbols of like symbols that almost they kind of look like runes. You see the runes around this, but a little bit different, going down like this. Some are going down and up at the same time, like that, like one going down, one going up, one going down, one going up, but only in that direction, like this, behind what was on the TV. And I'm like, oh man. But since, at this point, this happened to me probably about like in my early 20s. And I'm about to be 37 in February. So it's like, I'm like, oh man, something about to go down. I'm like, I'm about to experience something big. And then out of nowhere, I hear this like humming vibration in the air. Like the air got really dense. I got goosebumps. The air got so dense and heavy. And I kid you not, everything was dark red outside. Like I look outside and I'm like, immediately I knew I was already, it's like another dimension was summoned. And I heard like, as if it was like infinite crowds of people chanting the name Anubis. And I was like, what in the world is going on? And I saw him. He was so big, like, and I was terrified. And all I could do was just sit on the sofa. I'm like, what is going on here? He was so big that his waist was up to the sky. That's how big he was. And he was communicating with me, like, I would say kind of like intuitively communicating with me, with like feelings, not with words per se, not with exact words, but like with like feelings. That's how he was communicating with me. Not exact words, but like with feelings, with intent, with like his intent. It was kind of hard to explain. But I kept looking at the TV, and like he was there, and I kept looking at the TV, and what I kept getting from him was that he was showing me stuff through the TV. I got goosebumps. I'm looking at the TV, and like I'm seeing like regular TV, but then I'm seeing what's actually happening behind the TV. And like there would be normal shows, but then they would be showing perverted stuff behind that. Or they would be showing people doing exercises, showing how to be healthy, but then their exercises would be promoting, rated R stuff. Or their food would be, promoting cannibalism. Forgive me if I'm triggering anybody. Or, but under the radar, like symbolically. And I'm getting all this. I'm like looking at the TV, and I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm like, I'm seeing all this, and I'm like, what is up with this? But I had to keep watching. And then behind all that, but after all these things start coming through the TV, and I'm hearing all these chanting, and I'm listening to all this, I see this planet. It shot, like my focus shot through the TV, and in like one split second, my eyesight was like in outer space. And I saw this planet with a serpent wrapped around the planet. And I got the notion that that wasn't such a good planet. Or it wasn't such a good serpent, and that I would have to fight it. And that it was trying to come after me and people like me. And that I would have to fight it. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? So I couldn't sleep at all that night. I remember I had my gemstones and stuff like that, and I knew I had to get that, and I didn't know what was going on. And mind you, I didn't stop taking my meds. I didn't, I wasn't sleep deprived. I wasn't going through that, it was just happening. What was happening? I didn't tell my dad. I didn't tell anybody what was going on. But I remember what was going on, and like I took a break, and I'm like, man, what's going on? I stayed quiet, and I'm like, with all this that's going on, how am I going to sleep? I don't know how to sleep. And I'm like, I got to take my son to school the next day. So at least at that point, I was still coherent. I was still anchored to this reality enough to where I'm like, I know I got to get stuff done, but I felt kind of scared. So I was able to put my son to bed. I was able to put, my son was 3 years old at the time. He was in CSS program, pre-K, or this program in school for autistic kids when they're young. He was already in school, but it's like pre-K. But and that night I couldn't sleep. But I kid you not, that was the Anubis part. Now the high-ranking angel thing, let me get into that. Now, I kept feeling like I was floating, and something told me that I had to cleanse myself. So I went to take a shower, and I felt a veil lift like that, but it was like a veil of protection. I had protection on me, but then it lifted, and I heard the most ominous. I was so scared at that time. I was so scared of what I heard. It was the most ominous stuff that I heard at that time. And then the most bizarre thing happened. Like, in the shower, I imagine, like, not imagine, but like in the shower, I darted up to heaven, literally. And then when I was in the shower, I just went straight up into in this immense bright white light was surrounding me in every way, infinitely, in all directions, around me, in all directions. I didn't know what way it was going, coming from, to, from, in every way I was surrounded by white light. And then, you know, all I know is that I had to be sacrificed, is what I was told when I was up there. I had to be sacrificed. So when I came back down, I didn't just come back down. I fell into this, I was literally in another dimension. I don't remember being back in the shower at this point. I fell back into this body with wings, and I had a sword, and I remember looking around me. I got goosebumps. I remember looking around me, and I had just fought me and so many other angels have just fought so many people. But for some reason, I had to unalive my angel side. It was weird. Like, I had to unalive my angel side to be human again. It was strange. So I had to take my sword and unalive my angel side. And yeah. And after that, I was back in the shower, and like, I felt this cool breeze in the shower. I felt peaceful. I started imagining crystals, and not imagining, but I started seeing. When I say imagine, is that I started seeing it. I was around giant amethyst and giant jade and all these crystals, and I realized I was in Atlantis. And I just stayed there for a moment, and I noticed that I had to finish the shower because I started getting back to this reality, and I couldn't make sense of what was going on. And I was told by source, by God, that it's not for me to make sense of. It just happened. It's not for me to make sense of. It just happened. So I was like, okay, it just happened. All right, let me just flow with it. But for me, the part of me, the human side of me, the human part of me was like, I need protection. I don't feel good. I couldn't sleep. So I was like, okay, I finished with my bath. I even went into my dad's bed to sleep on the same mattress with my dad, because I was scared. I couldn't sleep. You know, I was able to get my son ready for school on the way to school, guys. On the way to school. Like, I know I'm getting to the last part. And I'm getting to the last part where I spoke to the king of Atlantis, but let me get to this first. On the way to school, to take my son to school, I'm like myself. Mind you, I was okay. I'm like this. I'm okay. I took the shower. I'm like, all right, everything is going back to normal. Let's just dismiss what happened as, as something supernatural, and just let it go. Another episode, another vision, just let it go. But when I turn on the radio, I was like, I hear the Spanish station, I'll translate it, I'll say it in English, said, oh, here is the seductive lady dancing a seductive dance to control the masses and to seduce the innocents, the 666 dance. to seduce the innocents. And I'm like, what in the world? And I'm like, oh, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I'm telling you right now, take all this bad energy. I don't want none of it. Transmute all atoms that are dark to light. I mean it. But I'm letting you know right now, I heard all kinds of stuff coming from that radio, and it was not good. And then not just that, I started seeing stuff like end of days stuff. I was seeing, you know, I was aware that nobody else could see this, first of all. Second of all, you know, I couldn't control what I was seeing. So I wanted to at least try to make sure that my son got to school. But I was so terrified. So like, I was like, I panicked. And instead of driving my son to school, I drove all the way to a certain place, but it didn't take that long. So I actually decided to drive back. I drove back to my dad's house. Drove back to my dad's house because I did not feel good. I did not feel good. I don't know if either I drove back to my dad's house or if I did finally drop off my son. I think I did drop off my son. And then, or like I dropped off my son and then I didn't feel good. And I put on that movie, The Prince of Egypt. And this is where speaking to the King of Atlantis comes in. I put on the movie, The Prince of Egypt. And oh boy, did I see all kinds of stuff behind that movie. All kinds of subliminal good stuff. And I was literally like getting rid of a lot of bad stuff that was trying to get in through that movie. I was getting rid of bad stuff too. But like, I knew I needed help, but I had to make it to my apartment. And like, I was getting too many downloads, too many end of days things. Like, I saw dead animals, I saw zombies, I saw people with like dark eyes and razor sharp teeth. I saw people for who they were on the inside. If you were good, I saw good, but if you had any darkness in you, I saw that. Like, and I mean like, saw it, the darkness in you. Not that you were bad, but I saw whatever was trying to convert you. That's what I saw. I saw that whatever was trying to tempt you, that's what I saw. I was seeing these spirits, these bad beings that were everywhere. And like, I remember watching The Prince of Egypt, and I was getting motivated. I was seeing the protection that I had. I was seeing like all the protection that I have, that I'm not alone, that, you know, that a lot of the things that happened to me up until that point were for a reason. So like, you know, fast forward, you know, I walked all the way from my dad's house to my apartment. Those of you that know me may know the distance, but I'm not going to say the distance, because, you know, for personal reasons. But either way, like, I mentally teleported to, I remote viewed to the King of Atlantis. And in another lifetime, he was my father. And I'm saying that with 100% clarity. I know people are going to give my comments saying that you're crazy, you're this, you're that. I'm not here to argue with anybody. I'm here to explain what I went through. I'm here to shed light on, you know, metaphysical stuff, on mental health, on, you know, people that go through spiritual psychosis, people that experience a lot of spiritual things that have an effect on the physical body, that cause mental and chemical imbalances. And as you know right now, I am stable and thriving. I take my meds. I'm in my right state of mind, and there's nothing wrong with me. Okay? Okay? Thank you, Pumpkin. But anyway, yeah. In another life, the king of Atlantis was my father. And I'm telling you right now, my father now was also the king of Atlantis. So it's not the first time that my father in this life, I haven't told him that yet. It's not the first time that my father in this life was my actual father. He's also very mystical, very knowledgeable, photographic memory. Growing up, there's no answer. He's never said, I don't know, to anything that I've ever asked him in my life. The only answer that he's given me that I never got an answer, if I asked him something, is I'm tired. I'll tell you later or another time. He's always had an answer. He is extremely intelligent, my father. God bless him. But yeah. Yep. So he was telling me that I've got to work with crystals, and I'll be able to help people eventually with crystals, using crystals. And I think he did mention tarot cards, but I wasn't into tarot cards yet. Well, I think I bought a deck, but I didn't really use them yet. I tied it up in silk. My first deck that I bought, I tied it up in silk, and then I put it away for like a couple years. But like, it was crazy. Like, when I made it to my apartment, I found my crystals, and I did what I had to do with them. I remember touching them, praying over them, and then I went to Taco Bell, and when I got to Taco Bell, something came over me. Something came over me, and you know, I have spirit guides. Let me tell you this. I do, like I said, my channel is mental health, metaphysics. What does it say? I say mental health, metaphysics, and mental health, motivational, and metaphysics, and motivational speaking, motivational, metaphysics, and mental health. That's what I have on my channel here. But I know that like not everybody's gonna relate to me, but I just want to be myself, and I want to spread light for people, But this is part of the story. This is part of the specific time that I saw Anubis, that I saw like the thing with the angel. Oh, my son opened the door. But like, I do have spirit guides, and I know I have angels of the highest white light. Obviously, I was raised Christian. I have these different necklaces, but either way, why am I beating around the bush? I shouldn't be hiding myself. This is why this is the problem. This is the problem with society. It makes people like me that have like spirituality, and that are in spirituality with mental health, with certain diagnoses, want to hide themselves. We shouldn't hide ourselves. So I'm just going to say it. I have spirit guides that have military background. They have military background. I have spirit guides that have military background. And Marines is one of them. And I know that because a lot of I have confirmation with other people, what I spoke to. In the past, there were professionals. They would ask me questions like, those people, those professionals would ask me questions, and then I would ask my spirit guides questions, and they would confirm it. But either way. But, I do, you know? And I know that. And I've seen some of them. And I communicate with them here and there, you know? And I say this because I have this deep connection with them. And sometimes it's really deep, you know. I'm trying not to get emotional about it. But like I said, when I got to this restaurant, I stopped at a restaurant to get something to drink. It was too much. What I was going through was too much. Everything from Anubis to the angel experience, me becoming an angel and having to sacrifice my angel side to be human again, and the Atlantis thing, and walking all that distance, and, you know, seeing the end of the world, and all these kinds of things that were happening, and not just that, but like, the king of Atlantis told me that, telling me that he was my father, and that was my true, that was one of my identities, and that I could control the weather. He told me that that my emotions control the weather, and that I'm not the only one that's like that. And that's another sign. If you're like that, your emotions control the weather. You notice if you feel a certain way that it controls the weather, that's a sign that you have a connection to Atlantis. But like, they ended up Baker acting me at that time, because I sang the Star Spangled Banner. Something came over me. I don't want to say that I was possessed or something, but I sang it when I was there, and I sat down, and then I was just sitting down drinking something, and they called the paramedics, and they asked me if I had any military background, and I was like, no. And I get that asked a lot, if I had military background. I'm like, no, but I get that a lot. And then they said, well, you know, I honestly don't know why they Baker acted me. But it happens for a reason. And then everything was calm and still. There was no cloud, there was no rain, everything was fine. But then after those paramedics left, a policeman came, and he shoved me. He put the handcuffs on me and shoved me into the back of the car, and it started raining like crazy, and windy, and all this rain and stuff like crazy out of nowhere. And even the cops said, what is going on here? And I felt so much rage inside. I'm like, what is I've had some horrible experiences with policemen. That's another story time. But I've had some horrible experiences. I'm not saying that all policemen are bad, but I've had my fill of the corrupt ones. I've had experiences with good ones, but I've had my fill of corrupt ones. Man. There's a good ending to this story. This is a story time. I'm telling you right now, there's a good ending to this story. To this story time. Now, we make it to the mental hospital, and this policeman is so rude. He rips me out of the car. He shoves me against the wall. You know, he's smushing my face against the wall. I'm like, I wasn't even fighting him. I wasn't even like standing still or staying stiff. I was listening to everything he was saying, and he was just being rough. He was roughhousing me. I don't even know why. But that's what he was doing. And like, this is other stuff. I couldn't fit everything in the title because there was too many things that happened this specific time. So when I went there, I literally got there, right? And they strapped me in. They strapped me no, they didn't strap me in. That was another time. They brought me in there, and they waited for the police to go. Like, he was smushing my face into the seat and everything. And even other patients there could tell. They were watching. They're like, dude, she's not doing anything. Why are you doing that to her? But anyway, like, they did strap me in. They strapped me into to this isolated bed with the wrists thing and the feet thing, chains on my wrists, and they chained me to the bed. And I cried. I didn't know why I was there. It was just so unjust. They had a camera on me. It was like, yeah, I felt like a lab rat. But eventually it was nighttime and I calmed down and they let me out. But then right when I got out and I sat on a chair, I felt this movement. I felt this vibration in the air, this ominous vibration in the air. And it was, let's just say, the opposite of good. It was the opposite of good. I don't even want to say what it was, because I don't want to manifest it with my words. And let's just say another patient said that somebody else felt the same thing. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then I'm looking at the cameras. I go back to this TV room where they have a TV. They have a glass door that looks over the nurse's station. And I'm looking at the nurse's station camera and I'm like, I get goosebumps. There's like a person there in the camera that is not there in real life. Woo-wee! I rebuke any negativity in the name of the Most High, Father God of the highest white light. Bring protection in every way, shape, and form, infinitely. Now, and that was 3303, 333. Now look at that. And you know what? All that negativity, the opposite, okay, let's just say the opposite of Christianity, the opposite of heaven, the opposite of good, was what I was hearing in the vibration, what I was hearing in the frequency. And I'm like, this is crazy. And at that time, I was calm. I was like this. I was like myself. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I'm like, how am I going to sleep through this? And I'm like, I started hearing my guides, a guy like intuitively talk to me. One of my spirit guides talked to me. And this is before I knew what spirit guides meant and everything. I would just hear like as if it was like, I got used to since a young age hearing kind voices talk to me, like imaginary friends. That's what I thought they were. But anyway, it was talking nice to me. And I was told that I needed to sit in a chair, put my feet up off the ground while I do this. It told me to sit in a chair, pick up my feet from the ground, and I had to put on Solomon's ring. And at the rhythm, I would become the crypt keeper and whatever was there, even though normally it would be the opposite or something like that, I had control over them. And then I was like, well, I'm all good. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't know too much about King Solomon's reign. I didn't know too much of what was going on. But I was like, man. But there was a lot of darkness there in that place. And I was like, no, I'm calling on my archangels. At that moment, I was like, no, this is not my fight. I'm calling on reinforcements. I'm calling on gods of goddesses of the highest white light. I'm calling on the seraphim angels. I'm calling on the archangels of the highest white light to fight this. This is not my battle. But I felt safe in that seat. And I heard, you earned that ring. And I'm like, I am not going to be converted to darkness. I am not of the dark. I'm not saying that that is, but I'm like, I'm telling you, I am not of the dark. I am of the light. And I will remain of the light. And that's how it's going to be, and that's how it's always going to be. I am of light. Amen to that. After that, it was time for me to go to my room. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I went from one room with the shackles on my bed to another room. I had a bed with a cushion, no straps, but it still had a camera above me. I could not sleep. It felt like the camera was literally burning me. It was so weird. Like, I had to cover myself up. I was literally like covering my ears, covering my eyes, covering my mouth. I'm like, whatever this MK Ultra frequency type bullcrap this is messed up. I'm like, out of all places to play experiments on people, this is like crazy, you know? Out of all people, you know? But look at this. Next day. The next day. Now, years ago, I've shared this experience a little bit. I dabbled in it. I shared a little bit of this alternate reality of what happened. But I'm going to say it again. Next day, I sit up on the bed. Morning, I feel great. I rested well. I feel like myself, my goofy, smiling self. And I literally remote viewed in a split second. And I saw about 4, I think they were Army. I saw about 4 personnel in their camouflage uniform sitting on chairs in a room, rustling their paper, like with paperwork. And I literally heard, oh, she sees us. And then I got back to where I was, and I'm like, okay. And I was looking at this deodorant roll-on thing that I had, and they're like, I got a nudge. Like, I heard them. When I hear them, it was just like a nudge. It's like a ping, you know, like a nudge. When you get a gut feeling, that little pull or a tug at your heartstring, a tug. But it was like a whole bunch of sentences. Like, they would say things, and I got what they said. But they had to speak in code in case somebody tried to intercept our thoughts, or, you know. So they would use food, though. They were like, get the cheesecake from the Cheetos. Or, you know, they would use words with food or something like that. Like, ridiculous things. And I was like, okay. So they want me to get the deodorant and press on the emblem to confirm that I understand them, as if it was a button. So I was like, you know what? I'm in this mental health institute. Let me just go ahead and just go with it. What else can happen? They already think I'm nuts. So, like, let me just go with it. So I grabbed it, I pressed it, and I'm like, okay. I literally heard bleep bleep. I heard one of them go bleep bleep. So I was like, okay, that's funny. Okay. I'm like, you know what? Let me just go. Let me just go to the day room. So I went to the day room. I walked over there, and literally when I sat down, I was anticipating every single thing that was going on. I was in my head, I was counting down everybody that would walk in, everything that would happen, everything that would happen on the TV. I was like psychic out of this world. Everything that was going on, I was seeing everything that would happen. Everything that was happening next. Everything, every detail, I knew what was going to happen next. And then I look at this lady, this other patient, and she's like, she had this folded up piece of paper. And she's like, look, this actually happened. She said, look, this other patient that left had this paper for you that he made. And he said to give it to you when I see you. And I looked at it. I'm like, I opened it up. And then, you guys, I am not making this on my mama. This paper had a helicopter in the sky, a ship, like a Navy ship on the ocean, a tank on the on land, and a sticker of a star in the sky. And you know what she said? She said, and he told me to tell you that you are the star in the sky, that you are the star. I took that paper, I folded it up, and I threw it away. You know why? Not because I was mad. I got goosebumps. Not because I was like, I couldn't believe it, but because I thought it was at 4141 when I said that. But because I thought it was evidence. I threw it away because it was evidence. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Oh my gosh, that's evidence. Let me throw it away. Then after that, I was given not just a comp notebook with lines where they tell you to write your feelings in this mental institutes. They tell you to journal every day. Nope. I was given a prong notebook with blank pieces of paper. And I knew exactly what to do. I opened the notebook. Every time I moved my finger around, I heard marching and shuffling of feet, clanking, as if they were dragging their feet, like exhibition drill team, when they have their rifles and bayonets and dragging them. Now, I heard, whenever you feel anything bad, stop and we'll take out the trash. So I would move my finger, I would stop whenever I felt something negative, and I would literally hear zip ties, I would hear trash bags, I would hear fumbling, I would hear stuff like that. And I did that, I don't know how long I did that, but I did it for a while. And guess what? I kept that with me, but I eventually threw that away too. Why? Because it was evidence. And guess what? There was a night guard. There was a guy that said he was a night guard, and guess what? He was an ex-Marine. He was an ex-Marine, and he was working there while all this happened. He was older. But either way, I didn't make this up. This actually happened. And in 44, this actually happened. Now, I eventually I was okay, got my meds, felt better. I was like, you know what, that's what's up. I got confirmation. You know, I have a buttload of other stories that I could tell you about, but this was this one. So yeah, that was Anubis. You heard about the angel. You heard King Solomon's ring. I couldn't fit that in the title. Yeah, that I had physical proof of what was happening. But there's so much to this world. There's so much to this world that's going on. That this world has to offer, that's going on behind the scenes that they don't want us to know about, that they don't want us to think that we're not able to do. Anybody could remote view. Anybody. It's a matter of just closing your eyes and going. It's close your eyes and you see the universe. Close your eyes and you see the universe. Clear your mind, but you gotta have protection. You gotta just be happy. Be happy. Just stay happy. You know? Ooh. So that was my story time. Imagine being there. Goodness. You know, a dream of mine, I've always wanted to... I'm not gonna say that. But that's for me. Yeah. Like, it's just crazy. It's crazy, like all the experiences that people go through and they don't share because they're afraid of what people might say. They're afraid of what people might say, how people might look at them, and you know, it is what it is. You know, people are gonna say what they're gonna say regardless. People are always gonna have, you know, their opinions. But yeah, this was my story time. You're schizorican. And I'm gonna go because I'm running out of time. Talk to you in the next one.